In this podcast episode, Ben Shapiro discusses the precarious state of Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign as the 2024 presidential race heats up. With polling data indicating a tight race in key swing states, Shapiro argues that Harris is struggling to maintain support, particularly among blue-collar voters in the so-called blue wall states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. He highlights that Donald Trump appears to be gaining momentum, which could spell trouble for Harris and the Democratic ticket. Shapiro emphasizes the importance of the blue wall states, which have historically been crucial for Democratic candidates. He notes that Harris must secure victories in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania to have a viable path to the presidency, especially if Trump wins states like North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. Recent polling data shows Trump either tied or leading in these critical states, with Harris facing significant challenges in appealing to blue-collar voters, particularly white men. Shapiro points out that Harris's attempts to connect with these voters have not resonated, as evidenced by a Teamsters Union poll showing a stark shift in support from Biden to Trump once Harris joined the ticket. A significant theme in Shapiro's analysis is the cultural disconnect between Harris and the voters she needs to win over. He argues that her media appearances on left-leaning platforms, such as Call Her Daddy and The View, are not reaching the swing voters she needs. Instead, Shapiro suggests that Harris is primarily appealing to a demographic of single white women, neglecting the broader electorate. He contrasts this with Trump's strategy of engaging directly with voters in the blue wall states through rallies and conservative media appearances. Shapiro also critiques Harris's perceived elitism and disconnect from the working class. He argues that her background and lifestyle do not resonate with blue-collar workers, who may view her as out of touch. This perception is compounded by her husband's controversial past, which Shapiro believes further alienates potential supporters. The podcast delves into the role of the media in shaping public perception of Harris and Trump. Shapiro argues that the media's bias towards Harris and the Democratic Party provides her with a protective shield, allowing her to avoid accountability for her policies and performance. He cites a recent incident involving CBS News, where a reporter faced backlash for asking tough questions of leftist icon Ta-Nehisi Coates during an interview about his new book. Shapiro suggests that this incident exemplifies the broader issue of media complicity in promoting democratic narratives while stifling dissenting voices. Shapiro critiques Harris's campaign strategy, which he believes is fundamentally flawed. He points out that her focus on identity politics and cultural issues does not address the economic concerns of voters in the blue wall states. Instead of offering substantive policy proposals, Harris appears to be relying on her identity as a woman of color to galvanize support. Shapiro argues that this approach is insufficient, especially given the pressing economic challenges facing many Americans. He also highlights a recent interview where Harris failed to articulate any differences between her policies and those of President Biden, effectively tying herself to the current administration's record. This lack of distinction could further hinder her campaign, as voters may associate her with the unpopular aspects of Biden's presidency. Throughout the podcast, Shapiro emphasizes the importance of empathy in political communication. He argues that Harris's attempts to project empathy often come off as disingenuous, particularly when juxtaposed with her media appearances during crises, such as hurricanes affecting Florida. Shapiro points out that her choice to engage with late-night hosts and cultural figures, rather than addressing the concerns of affected communities, reflects a lack of genuine connection with the electorate.